Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. I am here again once more, having a sit down conversation with Alex from Ready to Love. Yes, I've managed to bag the scoop and have a conversation with the one infamous Alex from the show. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, I mean, the weather's not been great over here, bit of a rainy day,
Oh,
but
it's
me
rainy.
personally,
Yeah.
I'm good. Me
You good?
personally,
Yeah. We were sunny today. We had a beautiful day. But I love
oh,
rainy days though. I love to just like chill, watch movies. No, like if you want to chill at home, that's a rainy day is good for that. You're like, no,
fair enough. Fair enough. I like staying indoors as well, but I just don't like the rain. I'm not a big fan of the rain, if I'm honest with you.
really.
Yeah, I'm not a big
Yeah,
fan of the rain.
I
Yeah. Okay.
understand.
What temperatures are out there then?
Today was actually kind of warm. I think we were like low 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
Is
But
that
we're supposed to be cold
Fahrenheit or is
tomorrow.
that degrees?
Yeah, 75 degrees
So
Fahrenheit.
wait, 75
70,
degrees.
sorry,
What
70. Yeah, I think it was like 70. I know.
degrees?
Yes, it sucks. We
How does
don't
a
get that
human
cold.
survive that?
Well, it's not, well, 70 degrees here in Houston actually feels a little warmer because we have humidity. So we get all
Okay.
that humidity. So it feels like sticky and warm. So it's not, I'm used to it. At this point, I'm used to it. I'm born and raised in Houston. So it doesn't bother me.
Damn.
But during the holidays, like I wish it snowed and I wish we got like that, it makes it feel like the holidays and Christmas, but we don't ever get it. So,
Okay, okay, sis. All right, cool, man. Listen, stay cold. I mean, stay chilled. I mean,
right?
stay hydrated. Okay, we don't want to lose you. All right, cool.
Right.
But we like to do something here on this channel before we start an interview.
Okay.
Some people might call it breaking the ice. I call it human verification. We want to ask some questions to make sure Alex is really
If I'm
human.
human, okay, let's see.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
see.
ask these questions. I hope you're ready, girl. All
I'm ready.
right. So I've got a little song here, and it goes,
Okay.
"Are you riding? Say you'll never leave from beside me, 'cause I want
I'm
you
good.
and I need ya."
And I'm
Hmm.
down for you always.
Okay, you got it. Who's the artist?
Definitely. That's great.
Okay, cool,
In
cool.
my feelings.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. Cool. Okay. Had to start easy. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
start
I'm
easy.
a big fan though, so that was
Had
the
to
easy
start.
one.
Let's start easy. My second one's gonna be a little bit. Okay.
It'll be a
So,
little hard.
yeah.
Let's
The
see.
lyrics go. You know you want my loving. You know you want my loving, baby. You got me twisted over you, girl. You got me twisted over you. I know what you. I know what. I know. I got what you need. I got what you need right here, baby. So what you want to do?
Oh my god, I know it. Like it's literally at the tip of my tongue and I can't think. Hold up. I need the beat. Wait, say it. Wait, do the
I
lyrics.
know. I'm not doing it for you, so you can get it. I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
I'm trying to. I can't catch the beat though. Like
You, you, you almost there, sis.
I'm not gonna get it. I would need to hear it again, but it's gonna kill me. Which one is it?
It is Keith Sweat.
Sing it.
Twisted. You
Twist it.
know I got. You got me twisted over you. I don't know how to sing it properly, but yeah, that's
No,
probably the
you
best.
actually sound like you have a nice voice.
Listen, no, Alex, don't do that to me.
Almost up, almost up. I hear you.
I'm not ready for the show yet. I'm not ready for the stardom yet, sis. Don't push me too quick. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was Keith Sweat, Twisted. So that was an
Oh
old school
god.
song.
Yeah,
Old
no, I know
school.
it. I can't believe I didn't get that.
Don't worry, sis. You was good. You was good. You was almost there. I got one more.
One
One
more.
more.
Okay, go.
See if you can get this now. It's a riddle. Okay.
Okay.
The riddle goes: You live in a one-story house
Okay.
made entirely of redwood. What color would be the stairs? Yeah, what color would the stairs be?
Oh my God. I live in a one-story house with red wood.
Yeah, what
What
color would the
color would
stairs be?
the stairs be? Oh my God, I don't know. And it's gonna make me mad. I'm one of the people that I love to get riddles. Like I don't like to know the answer. Hold on, let me think.
Take time, sis. We want to make sure you're human.
One-story house. It's a house
Mm-hmm.
made with red brick,
Redwood in a sense.
red wood.
Redwood, yeah.
Okay. What color are the stairs? They can't be stairs if it's a one story. So there's a twist to it. You know what? I give up. I give up. But I'm human though, but I give up.
Why did you give up?
Because it's gonna take me a while to get it. I already
Sis, you
know.
had the answer.
I did?
Yes, there's no stairs. It's a one-story house. Girl, you gotta believe in your slave. No. We gotta talk about this.
It's a trick question. You know those riddles be like, they be having tricks to them. Oh my God.
You gotta believe in your slave, sis.
Right? I got 2. I got 2 out of 3. That's 2 out of 3.
We're gonna drink that drink a little bit harder so we can get you on them slates. Okay. But yeah, that's the end of our human verification. Thank you very much. We know you're human. We know
You're welcome.
you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, just to kind of go into a little bit of a conversation with yourself. We really appreciated watching you on the show. I think for myself, watching your interactions with Brian was quite eye-opening. I think for us. Because on my channel we talk about behaviors, so it was interesting watching the two of you and the different kind of styles that you guys operate on. But before we go in deep into that, I mean, for you, Alex, I want to ask this question: who is Alex, and what is Alex's story?
Oh man, I got a lot. Listen, I've been through some things.
Tell us this. Listen, we all up in here for that. Come on.
You got all the time. So who is
I got time.
So Alex is an individual. As far as me and my character, I'm a very caring individual. I'm big on family, like huge. And I've had a good example of what family should be as far as my parents. I've had just good role models down to like my godparents. So I'm just really big on family. I've always had like a close-knit family. I actually ended up losing my grandmother this year. It was actually right before the show. I found out that she was going to hospice, and I actually wasn't going to go on the show because of it. I was contemplating not. So it was like the day before I left, I got the news that that they were going to put her in hospice, and she had like 6 months or less to live. So I was like, I don't even know if I should go. But with COVID, I hadn't seen her since March, like not physically, like we would see her through a window. Yeah. So I wasn't even like actually going to go on the show. My friends were like, I mean, if you stayed here, it would essentially be the same thing. You would just be calling her on the phone. So you might as well just go and have the experience, and she would want you to go. So, so I'm just big on family, and she was, a huge part of my family, and a huge part of me. Like, she's the reason I got braces. She bought my first car. So, I'm just big on family and just remaining close, and also just personal development, like within myself. I just feel like there are just things that I have battled like throughout my life that I have overcome, but I overcame it with work and also with God. So. I also have I'm very strong in my faith and just the blessings that God has bestowed on me. Yeah. So that's just who I am. I mean, I can go on and on.
No, listen, we're here for that.
But no, I mean, that's basically, the gist of who I am.
I love that.
What was your second question? I think you asked me too.
Oh, no, it was, what was your story? But you kind of brought it in.
Touch base, yeah. I basically did.
Okay, that's appreciated. I mean, you spoke candidly about your grandma. I mean, what was the kind of impact that your grandma had in your life? I know you mentioned some few things there. We'd love to know a little bit more about that. I mean, what kind of impact did she have on Alex growing up and becoming the woman that she became?
Oh, yeah, she had a huge impact. We actually lived with her when I was a kid up until about 2nd grade. Okay. And my grandmother is actually Jamaican, so she has...
Come on now. Come on now.
So yeah, they raise you a little differently. They have a tough spirit, and I think that's partially where I get my tough spirit from, her and my dad. But yeah, she had a huge hand in raising my sister and I, and she was just really there for us throughout my entire life. Like I said, she was a lot of. If there were certain things that like my parents couldn't assist with, like growing up, she would step in and help. Like I randomly told her one day, I was like, I really want braces. And she was like, well, I'll get them for you. Like, that's just the type of woman that she was. So she got me braces. And like I said, she got me my first car. So she definitely instilled a lot into me. And she is definitely one of the reasons why I am the woman I am today.
Wow. I appreciate that, man. That's a strong woman. We love that,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She was a tough one.
I love that. I mean, have you been to Jamaica since?
And the crazy thing is I haven't. And we were actually supposed to go this year. We had the trip planned and everything, paid for it. And then COVID hit. We were supposed to go in April. So, that's when it was like really bad.
Mm.
So we didn't end up going, but I do still have family there. I have uncles and cousins. So, yeah, I would love to go. Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Love that.
Yeah,
The time in the season will come and you'll be able to go. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, love that. Okay, so I mean, obviously, you spoke a little bit about your parents as well, growing up with them. I mean, how would you describe your relationship with parents and stuff?
Oh, yeah, I have a close relationship with both of my parents. I briefly spoke on the show about my mom, how she was
Mm,
in a really bad car accident about 10 years
yeah.
ago. So she is permanently brain damaged, and
Oh.
she's permanently bedridden, and she's really not mentally there as she used to be, as we grew up. But my dad is her permanent caretaker, and he takes care of her day in and day out. We have a caretaker that comes in and also assists him throughout the week, but he's her permanent caretaker. But yeah, I'm very close to my parents. I had a very close relationship to my mom before her
Yeah.
accident. So yeah, I do miss her. I can't even lie and say that I don't.
Mm,
The hardest thing about having a mother in that type of state is that it's like they're there, but they feel so far away, because they're not really there. So having to accept that at such a young age, well, I really wasn't that young, but I was, I think, 21 or 22 when the
okay.
accident happened. But just having to accept that, even as a young adult, that's tough. But over the years, I've just learned to accept whatever it is that God has planned for your life.
Mm.
He understands it, even though we may not. So yeah.
I appreciate that, and I think it's a tough thing to go through, and I don't think any of us can really comprehend what you've had to go through in in that respect.
Yeah. Hmm.
Obviously, if I can share some myself, my mum suffers with mental illness, so schizophrenia,
Oh,
and sometimes it makes a relationship a little bit difficult to get
wow.
close. And so I guess I wanted to ask yourself, I mean, what are the difficulties that you have faced then? Like you were mentioning, the fact that obviously your mum has gone into a particular vegetative state at that sense. How has that affected you as a woman at this particular point in time?
Yeah. It really it makes you appreciate life. It does. And even though sometimes life just doesn't make sense, it also makes you um if you do have a strong faith in God, it also makes you get even closer to him, because it's like some
Mm,
things we're not going to understand, and we're humans, so we're going to be mad at God at certain things that he does. That's just what it is. But I've never lost my faith, and never once strayed away from him. It made me closer to him. But it definitely makes you appreciate life, and it makes you just go after the things that you always say that you wanted to do. I know that sounds just, like a whole Instagram post, but it's true though. It really makes you just realize the things that are important, and makes you cherish family, and know that at any given point, like, it could all be over. So yeah.
no, I appreciate that. But yeah, I appreciate it because I guess obviously because we wanted to kind of get an understanding of yourself because obviously you do. I remember I was saying about your particular there's a scene with yourself and what was his name, Sam, and
Bam. Okay.
I was saying that at the time the reason why I felt like you was at least giving him some scope of a chance is because of the deepness that you have and the understanding that you come with, and I felt
Mhm.
like even though I know other people weren't really too tough on Sam, but it
Yeah.
seemed like you were at least giving him a chance, like to hear him
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and so I
Even
felt
though
like
they
obviously that
cut
comes
it
from a
to
deep
make it
place.
seem like I didn't. They cut it to make it seem like I didn't say anything, but I did. Like, I think they cut it to sound like I said, "Oh, okay, that's what's up." But I said something aside from that. I don't remember exactly what it was. But no, even though he really wasn't my type, and he's such a nice guy, such a sweet soul, but he just wasn't my type. I didn't feel like connected to him in that way. But yeah, I'm always open to giving people a chance just to be who they are. Actually, Raymond, that was one of the things that he said that he appreciated about me. He was like,
Mm,
after I told you I had 5 kids, he was like, you didn't just walk away, and was like, oh, okay. He was like, you actually stayed and talked to me. And he was like, I respect that, because a lot of people just don't, in general, just not, I don't even think just with the show. I think just in general, people don't give him that, when he does voice that he, has 5 children. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, we all have a story.
mm. What do you think makes you so understanding or open to those kind of experiences then? Because obviously, like I said, Raymond, I'm not gonna lie to you, the audience tore him to
Oh, I know.
death.
I know. And I love
Wolves were just
him.
out there.
I know. And he is, when I say he is so cool and he's super talented, he can play the hell out of the guitar. But I think I'm just an entertaining person, just in general. I think that's just who I am. You know, some people are just born certain ways, and that's just something that I've always had in me. I'm that type of person that even if someone does me wrong, granted, I'm not going to allow someone to take advantage of me, but I'm even the type of person that even with friends, like I try to see like, okay, I'm gonna give them a chance because I understand like maybe they're going through something, or maybe it's something with them that they haven't matured to the level that they need to be, or on my level of maturity. So maybe let me just work with them. So I always try to see the best in people. And I just feel like I always say that everybody can teach you something. You just have to look for the best. So, you know, just because I may not understand or agree with what you did or what you're doing, I'm always going to be an open ear just to figure out, okay, well, why did you do it? You know, or why are you the way you are? Or what made you go through the experiences that you went through? So I'm just understanding. I think I've just always been like that. Even as a kid, I was like that. So I think that's just in me, something God gave me.
No, I appreciate that. And I think a lot of people could take something from that, because I think as human beings, we want to be able to appreciate all different types of people. We want to be able to relate to a lot of people, you know? So when I saw that from yourself, I was like, okay, I like that. I mean, because it's something that a lot of people don't have. It's just the ability just to be able to relate, take time, listen, and hear that person out. You know, you may not agree with everything they say, but you know, at least you get an understanding of that person, you know, as well. So I hear that. For yourself, I mean,
you can learn something, even about always.
Let me ask a question. What was your childhood like? What was Alex's childhood like? Were you the crazy kid, the quiet kid? How was your childhood like?
I think I'm basically the same. Like I can be quiet in certain environments. I'm a thinker, and like I'm really very, very observant. So when you're really observant and you're observing like your surroundings, if you're really in tune to like what you're like yourself and what you're looking at, you're gonna kind of be to yourself just to figure it out. So I'm just really, as far as that part, I can be quiet, but I've always been the type that have just, it's like I guess like you could say I'm an extrovert and introvert. I guess I'm a little bit of, because I've always been like, I have a bubbly personality. I've always made friends. I've always had a lot of friends. And I've always been involved in things, activities, events, what have you. So yeah, I mean, overall, that's the kind of kid that I was, and I had a good childhood. Like I feel like 90s or 80s babies. Listen, we had the best childhood. We did. Listen, we played outside. We had the best childhood. Like we did. Like no one plays outside the way we did, and just the things that they don't. And just a lot of the things that like I love when people do like throwbacks of like the things that 80s and 90s babies kids had. Oh, it just makes me so nostalgic. Like, so I always played outside with my friends. My house was always a house in the neighborhood that everybody came to, and we would just have fun. I played the piano as a kid. What else did I do? I did dance in high school. So
okay.
Yeah.
You're a musical, yeah? You're a musical type of person.
You know, I love music, and I love like jazz music. I love instrumentals. I'm huge on like instrumentals. So I love jazz. But yeah, I haven't played in a really long time, and I still have my keyboard. So I always said I wanted to start back just because I do have a love for music. So I would love to get started and just kind of get back into it. And my grandma was the one who paid for my piano lessons. So
listen, shout grandma, man.
Yes, right. I gotta do it for her. If I don't do it for anybody else, I gotta do it for her.
And your piano, I mean, did you do it like as in did you I don't know how they call it, like the gradings? Did you do gradings, or you just learn it just like by yourself?
I wasn't the type that could just like listen to a song. And
okay.
No. I actually took lessons. I had a piano teacher.
Jeez. Okay, what's your favorite song to play on the piano?
Oh, see, how is it? I don't know. I don't really have one currently, because I was a kid when I did it. So, and we learned like the songs that we played were like the songs that were like in the book, like, you know what I'm saying?
Girl,
So
I mean, I can do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. That's what I can do. So
you
you
know
can.
what?
I'm sure you can beat that. I used to do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I'm sure you can beat
Oh
that.
yeah, I
So.
think I could probably still do that. Yeah. And then the one that's like dun, 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 dun. You know which one?
Okay, some classic.
Yeah, I could do a little bit of that. So
Okay, listen.
yeah,
All right, cool. Maybe one day we'll get you on there. We'll get you just playing. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
Come out. You know what I'm saying? Do a little
yes.
Alicia Keys moments.
Catch me in a couple of years. I might be.
A couple of years. How about next week? You better tune up. Dust off that piano. No, I appreciate that. And I get that. I've seen that. So, okay, so you was a bit more, you was into your music. Would you say you was a bit artsy? Would you say you was a bit artsy as well?
I would, yeah. I can't draw if my life depended on it. My sister got that. She's an amazing artist. But yeah, I got more of like the musical dance side of it, yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, you said you had a sister as well.
Oh, yeah, I have a sister.
Older, younger?
I'm older by only a year.
Oh.
And I also have an older brother. We're like 16 years apart. It's my dad's first marriage. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you're almost like a middle child at some sense.
See, I mean, I am technically, but in the house that I grew up in, I was the big sis. I was.
Okay, fair enough. We'll allow you. You. Okay, so I mean, you've got such a great, I would say, I think everyone would agree, you've got a glowing personality and people are drawn to that, I'm sure. Why did you go on Ready to Love? Like, what was your reasoning for going on Ready to Love?
Man, so I've been single for now about 4 years. I was previously engaged. That was my last relationship. And, for the first couple of years after my engagement, I actually wasn't trying to date anyone. I was really mainly focused on myself, focusing on what Alex wanted to do as an adult. Like, I felt like in that relationship, I kind of put when I'm in a relationship and when I'm in love, I am all in 100% to the point to where I would drain myself for that person. So that's not always good. I mean, it's good to give your all, but you still have to know yourself. Like, you can't lose yourself in the process. And that was one thing that I promised myself in my next relationship. Like, I'm going to give my all 100%, but I cannot lose myself in the process. I have to stay true to me. So for those first couple of years afterwards, I was just really just climbing up the ladder, trying to get back to Alex and what she wanted and who she was as a person. And then once I did that, I was like, okay, I'm ready to date. But then I didn't date. I was like, okay, I'm ready, but I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do dating apps like I probably should. So I just felt like I was at the point, but it's like, I want to be in a relationship. It's like, I'm so ready. And I feel like I am just the best version of myself that I've ever been in life. And I worked hella hard to get here, and I want to share that with somebody. And I'm low key like a hopeless romantic. So I'm like ready for that. So, so it's like at that point, it was like, I've done everything and nothing worked. Well, not really everything. I did what I had done pretty much, but nothing had worked up until that point. So it was kind of like a, why not? I don't have anything to lose from doing this. So, whether I go on there and I make friends or I go on there and I find love, which was the ultimate goal, whatever it is, I'm going to look at the positives in it. So I went on there and I was hopeful. I really was like, man, listen, if this is the way I'm going to find it, it's going to be a crazy story at the wedding. Okay. We will have a funny story to tell with our vows, but it didn't work itself out like that, but
I love that. And obviously, I mean, you had expectations, I'm guessing, some type of expectation before you went on the show. Did the show meet your personal expectation?
As far as in what way? You mean as far as just
so whatever expectations you had of going onto the show, did the show meet that expectation that you had of what you would encounter or receive from that show?
Well, yeah. And what I loved, and I've said this before in previous interviews, what I loved about Ready to Love is that it's not focused on drama. It's not solely focused on drama. It's really focused on people finding connections and people hopefully falling in love. So I love that about it, and I love that in the previous seasons, like that's what they focused on. So yeah, it met my expectations. I mean, unfortunately it didn't solely in the end, but for the show itself, yeah, it did.
I love that. Okay. And so obviously when you got onto the show, you're starting to date. I mean, who caught your eye initially? Like, you got on there, you get into the villa, you want to call it that. Who caught your immediate eye? Who was like, just that is a bit of me, just from first glance?
Brian did. Brian caught my eye
Okay.
initially. And Edwin did, actually. Edwin caught my eye. So those two were the ones who caught my eye initially. And then Brian's personality has a very, like, what's the word? You could say charming. Well, that's
He is charming. He is charming.
Verdict is still out on that one a little bit. But he is charming. He's charming.
He's got some charm
he's
to him.
funny. Yeah. And when we first met, I asked him, like, how many kids he had. And he said 7. Now, mind you, I had just spoken to Raymond like 30 minutes prior. So I was like, man, 7 couldn't be too far-fetched from what I just heard. I was like, oh, 7 kids for real? It was hilarious. And he was like, no, I'm joking. And I just burst out laughing because I legit believed him. Like, he had a great personality, and we did click instantly in the beginning.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, we had Brian on the show, and like I said, I could see why women are attracted me. He has he's got a natural flow with him. You know what I mean? He's gifted with the gab. He is gifted with the gab. And I mean, obviously, when you guys got talking, what other than obviously, because now you got past the looks, you're actually starting to talk. What drew you in to Brian? What drew you in? What attracted you after that?
Well, one of the things that attracted me was his passion. He has a lot of passion.
Yeah.
And I love someone with passion. Like, whatever your passion is towards, like his is towards kids and giving back to the community, like whatever it is, like I love someone with passion because I just feel like they just have so much depth to them. Usually people with passion do. They have a lot of depth to them. And I can't be with someone that has absolutely no depth. Like, I need something. Like, I love to joke around and have a good time. But when we're in certain situations, I need you to have some type of substance there to help us out. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I'm ever going through something, like, I'm gonna need you to have something to give me. So yeah, he had that, and he had passion, and like, he's a smooth talker. He's a great talker, and he would make me laugh. So those are probably the top 3 things that I would say attracted me to him. Sorry, initially.
Love that. And obviously, before I go a bit further with the Brian situation, obviously, we only got to see yourself connect with then Rasheed as well. But was there any other connections that we didn't get to see that maybe happened behind the scenes?
Yeah, Jay and I actually connected a little bit. It was super brief, I wouldn't even say surface level. It was just super brief. But at the point, because we actually went on a date. They didn't show it, but we did a date. We went on a fishing date. And it was a good date. And afterwards, I was like, okay, Jay's really cool, because I hadn't talked to him yet. The only people that I had spoken to in that way was Brian and Rasheed. Those were the only people, for the most part, that I had spoken with. So when Jay and I went out, I was like, he's a cool guy. But I knew that he was really feeling joy and both winter. So I even asked him, I was like, we were eating one time, and I was like, hey, I was like, I really enjoyed our date. And he was like, no, I did too. I was like, I mean, I wouldn't mind exploring, because it was still fairly in the beginning, but it was one of those in the beginning, but it was still to the point to where we were still all trying to like figure out like who our people were, but we had our number ones and our number two at this point. So I was like, I was like, I know that you're feeling joy in winter. I said, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. And if if that's where you are, that's where you are. I was like, but I would like love to go out with you again. I really feel like we had a good time. He was like, no, I 100% agree. And Jay is very blunt. Like, he's a straightforward person. I know that if he wasn't feeling me in that way, he would have said in a really nice way, like, nah, you sweet, you cool, and I, you know what I'm saying? But he's super straightforward, which is what I love about him. So, so he was like, yeah, we could, but we didn't end up going on another date. It was just that one, but he was a really cool guy.
Did the girls have a pact, like the guys? Like, we know the guys had a pact that they weren't going to step on anybody's toes. Like, Random said that's the thing. But did you girls have that as well?
We did it. It wasn't verbally said because they got bro code going. But for us, it was just an understanding. It was one of those things where like if I saw Adriana with Brian, she would come to my room and be like, "Girl, let me tell you." I'm like, "Nah, girl, you good? I already understand." Like it was just an understanding between the women. Like if they did see one another, aside from like Adriana and Denise, because that was a whole different situation. But if it was like maybe, like I said, Adriana and I, we would just look at each other like she'd be like, "You good? Like I understand. Like we good. I know what the process is. I know we have to respect the process." So it was just I feel like it was just a unspoken understanding.
And I like that. I mean, 'cause obviously we heard from the guys. Obviously, they had their pact, and I was just kind of wondering if the
Yeah, they
girls had
did. They
theirs. So,
all said it too. They all told us.
do you think that this is a general question? Do you think that because obviously I think what the show shows us is how I think some representation of what happens in a dating scene in life. So I don't know. Were the girls then? I would say almost hands tied behind the back because once they like someone, the territory becomes very locked in. You can't go there without there being like a fight. I guess I'm asking a general question. Like, is this what normally happens in a dating scene as well? Because we saw that on the show, but does that happen in a dating scene as well?
I think so. Yeah, I think it does. For me, I'm one of those people that I'm also a realist. So if I'm dating someone and we haven't established what it is up front, like, because I've dated people before, like the last guy I dated, we weren't together, but I dated him. We were just dating, but he made it very clear, like, I'm exclusively dating you right now only. But if a man doesn't say that to me, I'm going to automatically assume that he's going around, you know what I'm saying? Doing what he do. That's just me though. But some women don't think that way. So for me, it's like, unless I know what it is, like I'm not gonna feel like I'm stepping on anyone's toes because in my mind I already know what it is. So I'm gonna just do what I do. You know what I mean?
I get you saying. Yeah. Okay, no, that makes a bit of sense. I get it. Just wanted to kind of find out a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, dating these days is just different. Like,
what's the difficulty of dating?
I just feel like social media kind of ruined dating in a sense. Because these days people don't even give their numbers. I'm one of those people too. Like, even if I meet a guy and I feel like he's cool, before I give him my number, sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna just give him my IG, just because you just never. It's just different these days, and I feel like I have fallen victim of it as well. But I feel like social media puts everything. It just makes everything. What is the word? So accessible. Like everything is like at the tip of your fingers. There's no chasing anymore. Like everyone puts everything online. Like there's no mystery anymore. So it's almost a sense like you start dating someone and then you go and stalk their Instagram page. So the mystery is gone. Like, and you make assumptions off of it. I've done that too. I try not to anymore, but I've done that. Like I make assumptions off of people based off their Instagram. So I feel like it's just changed the game as a whole. And I feel like it's way more difficult to date in 2020 than it was 10 years ago, in my opinion.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
On the show for you, obviously, apparently a lot of women were having to make the moves.
Yeah.
What was Alex having to also make moves out here?
I was, in a sense, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to coming to me, and I feel like, honestly, that's something I learned from the show is I probably should make the moves a little bit more. But yeah, at one point, all the ladies, I want to say Naya was the one who said it. All the ladies had sat down one day. We were all outside talking. They didn't show it, but we were all outside talking with the guys. And we basically told them, like, listen, y'all need to go on ahead and do what y'all do. Like, y'all got to come to us. Like, because most of the women there were dominant women. Like, we're dominant. We like a man to pursue. So I want to say Naya was like, y'all need to step your game up. Y'all need to do something because we're not about to sit here and chase y'all. But and I agreed. We all agreed. But in the same token, it was like the situation that we were in. It was almost like we kind of gotta, even though we didn't wanted to, we had to. Like we had to pursue that in a sense. And I'm not used to that. So it was tough for me. It was. But I do feel like you could get a little further pursuing. You just can't don't chase a guy, but pursuing is different. Pursuing and chasing are different. But if you actively pursue someone and let them know like you're feeling them, I feel like that's okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like the way you described that as well. I like the way you described that. Yeah, like you said that. I mean, obviously, then you had obviously quite an interesting relationship, I guess, also if we can call it that, with Brian
Yeah.
on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It was
what
interesting.
it was interesting because I think when I reviewed it from the very beginning, and the little jokes about the celibacy part, and then obviously coming forward, you guys were then having conversations. I want to clear up something. So I want you to clear up something. The part about him not listening,
Mm-hmm.
was that true to was that true? Did you feel like he wasn't listening at points? I'm not saying he wasn't always, but did you feel like at points he wasn't giving you a true listening ear?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Like you said, at points. Sometimes he did, but there were times where he didn't. A prime example I will give you is when I had brought up my domestic violence situation to him. Granted, they cut it a little bit in the way, like he did kind of blew it off a little bit, but I was more the one who made the decision to kind of just stop talking about it as a whole. But there were certain things about that situation I didn't want to say on camera. That was my opinion. So all of us after the day, at the end of the day when filming was over, we would all go to each other's rooms and talk. It was one of those nights we were talking, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to go into a little bit more detail with you about why I didn't want to say certain things on camera about my violence situation. And he said, oh, we'll talk about that later. And then that was it. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I could have understood if we were in the middle of having a conversation about something of some type of importance, but we weren't. We were just BSing and talking about whatever we were at the moment. So in that moment, I was like, what is it do you want to hear me or do you want to hear yourself talk in that moment? And that was a huge turning point for me, because I'm just like, granted, and I can understand that some people may not understand how to handle that type of news. Some people don't know how to, but he's always harping on those, like that's the type of things that he deals with on a daily basis. Like he's the behavioral consultant, like that's his realm. So for me, it's like, if you're a behavioral consultant and you deal with not only children, but adults, like that should be something that you, from what you've said, that you can, talk about and understand and listen. But in that moment, he didn't. And that was the true turning point for me, for him. But there was a lot of things that happened behind the scenes with us that really determined how I felt. But I know how it could have been confusing to the audience because not all of it was on the camera. So it kind of did seem like, even watching it, I was like, dang, I do kind of seem like I just flipped for no reason.
Oh no, we saw that you did. We knew why you flipped.
Okay. Yeah. But some people were like, oh, well, she just, 1 minute she feeling him and then her friend came and the next minute she wasn't. But it wasn't that. It was so many things that had happened that they didn't show, and things that happened off camera that made me make that decision. And that was the biggest one. I was like, okay, I'm done. And I'm not knocking him as far as
no.
Who he is. Like, he's an amazing guy. He will be amazing for someone else. He does amazing things for the community, for children. Yep. That's his passion. So I can't take that away from him. He has that 100%. But in that moment, I was like, this would never work.
Yeah. And I actually understand what you're saying. I think when I had Brian on here, I did say to him as well that, there are, being a listener, for instance, this is my job. I listen to people. I do it all the time. But doesn't mean that being great at a job and having those skills does not automatically translate to how you deal with people. Exactly. Right? Because it's a job at the end of the day. So dealing with people requires a different set of skills. Even though you're still using your listening skills, it requires empathy. It requires you to in timing, the way that you even speak with tone and everything like that. It's just far different when you're dealing with people outside of work than when you're dealing with them inside of work. So I could understand why there may have been a dissonance there in terms of the listening from the job and listening when he was actually talking with yourself. That's a good point.
That's a good point. I never thought about it like that. I just thought about it as you can be good at your job, but doesn't mean that you could be good at in a relationship. To me, those are two completely different things. Like, I could be an IT tech person, but I could be a horrible wife. That doesn't mean, and just because they're even similar doesn't mean that I'm going to be great. Just because I'm great at one, I'm going to be great at the other. It takes a different level of effort depending on what it is you're doing. It takes a different level of effort. So like you said, empathy. You have to learn how to deal with people on a personal level, whereas as far as on a business level, because essentially that's a business, like that's your job. may have a passion behind it, but it's still a business at the end of the day. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, I think there was I remember this, I think that scene that even leads up to that. I guess I wanted to ask, it looked like you was in deep thought. You was, I think by the fire, I don't know if it's like, you were indoors. And he came up to you and he was like, do you want to talk? And it took you a second to even snap out of whatever you're thinking about. And he was like, okay, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, what was going through your head at that point?
I really felt like, I think one, I was tired. Did a long day that day. One, I was tired, but two, I really was thinking about a lot because, like I said, I'm a thinker. In the beginning, I said of the show that I'm a thinker. Like I think about a lot, and I observe and I break things down in a different way that most people wouldn't. So in that moment, when I stare like that, 9 times out of 10, I'm thinking about something, and I was just thinking about everything. Like I said, everything that had led up to that point. Where if it was on camera, if it wasn't, I was just thinking about like my feelings and really trying to assess them and try to figure out like, okay, like, is this, because at one point I was doubting myself. I'm not even gonna lie, because I was feeling like that maybe I wasn't understanding exactly what he was saying or feeling, because I've dealt with that in past relationships where they felt like I wasn't too much understanding what they were trying to say. So in my mind, I'm like, maybe I'm not really understanding him, but I felt like I got confirmation from the women and the men. Like, granted, we were off the table and guys were joking about it. They were joking, but there's always truth behind a joke. Like, even Tommy joked about it, but it's still truth behind his joke. Like, everybody can't be joking about the same thing about you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So once I got confirmation, I was like, you know what? It's not me. Like, I'm not tripping. And like I say, not taking away from the man that he is, but he's just not the man for me. So in that moment, I really was just evaluating everything and I was just trying to figure out. That's why I said, I think on the couch, I was like, I'm trying to evaluate my feelings right now. Yeah. Because right now, I just don't know how to feel. And just in that moment, I just had so many things going through my mind. So yeah, I think I'm almost certain that's what I was thinking about. Because when I watched it back, I was like, oh, that's my look. I'm staring in his face. I already know I'm thinking.
He was deep. I could see it, like he was deep, and he had to snap you out almost.
He really did.
I guess it was another scene that people wanted to kind of get a bit more clarity was when your friend came in, and obviously let's take the first part of it where she asked about the cheating, and then he was being a bit slow with the thing. He was being a bit slow with the a bit dilly-dally, doing a bit, a little bit too much wordplay. There was a little bit, but for you, obviously, when that answer wasn't so straightforward, what was kind of going through your mind, and what was your kind of attitude? I said attitude, but what was your kind of viewpoint of that particular scenario?
Yeah. So one thing that that irks me about him is that sometimes he just does not answer things straight on. And I'm the complete opposite. Like, I like a straightforward answer. Like, we can joke sometimes, but sometimes I just need a straight answer. So, at that point, again, I was starting to like really evaluate things. And I was just like, if he don't answer this question, that's why I was like, if you can you can hear. So just go ahead and tell me like what it is. So I don't really too much, even though I should, but I don't really too much fault men, especially at our age in the 30s, about cheating, because I just feel like, I mean, I've never cheated on a man, on any of my boyfriends, but I just don't fault men for it. I'm not gonna rephrase that. I expect it sometimes, not all the time, but I do expect that most men cheat.
In the past, they would have done it.
Yeah, they cheat. I'm not the type to hold that against a man, because men and women cheat, so I don't want to see bias here. I know that we both cheat, but I personally don't fault a man for that, because that's just, we're human, so we're always entitled to make mistakes. But I feel like at a certain point in your life, you do have to make that decision not to cheat. So him avoiding the question, I mean, clearly that was a yes by avoiding it. But, my thing is, like, if you were a cheater, or you have cheated in the past, just make me feel a little bit more comfortable today. Like, feel like, hey, that was a past me. I have done it. Because you hear all the time people say like they've been in relationships and they've been terrible partners. And then once they meet that one person, it's like, man, they've changed their entire life and everything that they did prior to that. So like I say, I believe that, just because you've been a cheater doesn't mean you always will be, but just be straight up with me and just make me feel comfortable knowing that you won't cheat on me from this day forward. But So that's kind of how I felt in the moment. But I was over him going around questions. So I'm just like I'm really good at like internalizing my feelings.
Yeah.
That's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because if I do internalize them, I don't necessarily express exactly how I'm feeling sometimes, because I'm like trying to process it all. So even though I may not have expressed as much on camera what I was feeling, there was a lot that I was feeling inside. So so in that moment when it happened, I was just like, okay. I was kind of
help us to see what Alex was seeing. What was Alex internalizing inside?
Oh man, and it wasn't that I was questioning myself. It was more on the lines of, am I not seeing something? Am I not seeing his point of view? So
okay.
I was more in my head about, okay, is it me? Because I try today now to always look at myself and be like, okay, is it me? Maybe I'm not seeing what he's seeing. So for me, it was like the emotions that I were feeling, I was like, I'm starting to feel like it's not me. So in those moments where you saw me like staring, I'm just like putting it all together. Like, I don't feel like it's me, and I had to stand firm on my own understandings and my own feelings. I always go with my gut. My gut is almost 99.9% right. So if I was feeling it, I was like, you know what? I'm feeling it, but I'm feeling it for a reason. So I was trying to figure out what it was I was exactly feeling and why I was feeling it. Because it wasn't that we didn't connect, but at some point down the line, we just had a disconnect. And I did, because he did say that, he asked me, did I want him to fall back? And it wasn't that I wanted him to fall back. I just wanted him to take a step forward to understand where I was coming from. And if he could have done that and listened to the things that I was saying, you didn't have to fall back. So I was like, no, you don't have to fall back. Just listen to what I'm saying. But he couldn't really comprehend that. So I feel like that's the things that I was internalizing and trying to figure out. But then once I figured it out, I was like, I can't do it anymore. But I wish him the best.
What would you say to, let's say, the audience who were thinking that, okay, because like you were saying, it looked like maybe you flipped and flopped. So the only time you kind of fully changed was when your friend kind of like, maybe not exposed him, but kind of like, showed that she wasn't sure about Brian. You know what I mean? Like, what would you say to that in terms of the fact that it looks like, I think they tried to portray it like Alex only changed her mind because her friend said something, which I think is nothing wrong with that, to be honest. I mean, shoot, if you've got a good friend.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes friends do things that we don't see. But no, like I said, so the funny thing is, after that, me, Brian, and my friend ended up having a conversation that night, like off camera. And I, again, expressed my concerns with him in front of my friend. So it wasn't that I didn't have those concerns. Like I said, a lot of stuff just happened off camera. So it did seem like when my friend got there, it was like, so when she said, she's like, I don't feel like you're really feeling him. I was like, really? The reason why I said really was because I was feeling him. It was just, I was having reservations as far as some of his character traits, but it doesn't mean that I didn't feel him. It was one of those things where like, I can work with him as long as he puts in the effort to work. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not all perfect. But when she said it, she was like, no, but you're really not feeling him. I was like, really? I was like, okay. Well, I was like, well, maybe I'm really like need to just more fall back on my own gut. So even though I had a conversation in the room, and then when he left, it was just her and I was like, do you see why I have reservations? And she was like, yes. She was like, you were talking, and she said, girl, he wasn't even listening. He was talking about something else. I was like, exactly. So, it wasn't that I flipped when she got there. It was more when she got there, it confirmed all of the things that I was already feeling, that I probably should have just leaned more on my own self and my own emotions and just leaned on my own gut and just went with it. But she just kind of put it in like, girl, like, I know you feeling it. So go on ahead and just, it is what it is. So, and I don't feel like like my friends and my sister give me advice, but I also can think for myself. Yeah. Like, I'm not one of those people that just easily persuaded, like, oh, my friend said no, so I'm going to say, like, no, I can think on my own and I make my own decisions. But a friend's advice is just that, it's advice. And it's just to help guide you to make the decisions that you want to make,
I love that. What would you say was your vantage point when the whole bedroom scandal with Alicia thing happened. I know he really told us that obviously he wasn't meant to go to your room. It was just that the production said what they said. That's why he went to your room. Whether that's true, I don't know, but that's what he has said. But obviously, I haven't had it from Alicia, but Alicia obviously felt a certain claim towards him as well. So that was a bit odd, because that was a little something there as well. But yeah, I mean, what was your kind of vantage point to that whole scenario?
So my thing is, I've seen that he's blamed a lot on editing, and I mean, obviously it's TV, like
a lot of people do that.
It's gonna be edited, but you can't blame everything on editing. At the end of the day, regardless how it was edited, you still made the choice not to tell her. To me, that's, at the end of the day, that was his choice. So my whole feelings, I stand firm in it. You should have told her, period. I feel like when you're grown, like, and we've reached a level of maturity, if you're not feeling something, you need to tell the person. Like, it's a simple, like, hey, no, I'm not feeling it, not coming. Boom, done, go back to your room. Regardless of the order of events, regardless of when and what happened first, second, third, at the end of the day, you still, when you went to sleep that night, you still never told her that you weren't coming back. So my whole thing is just be honest. If you're not feeling someone, just let them know you're not feeling them. Because to me, and I said this on the show, I was like, if you do that to her, you'll do that to me, regardless. Like, I mean, and granted, I get it. He wanted to make a statement, and I appreciate that statement. But that doesn't change the fact that you can't, you know what I'm saying? Don't do it at the expense. Don't make someone else feel bad at the expense of me. Yeah. Like, you still got to tell her, like, at the end of the day, just be honest and be like, nah, I'm not feeling you. So, I mean, I didn't agree with it. I appreciated the statement that he was trying to make. Like I said, don't make a statement on the expensive. Just don't do that. Like, just be honest with her. So, I mean, you know, he has his feelings about how everything was and how everything was edited. But at the end of the day, like, you can't edit that.
Obviously, in that scene as well, when he does actually come to your room, you guys have a very interesting conversation. I wish I remembered the actual conversation, but it was really interesting.
I said, well, how was I saw you walk.
Yes. And I was like, wait, hold on a minute. And I remember saying to myself when I reviewed it, I said, hold on a minute. I wonder if he's going to tell the full situation of whether he went to her room or he went outside her room, whether he was going to tell her that he actually went on a date with her at this place. And so I don't know, was details shared at that moment when you're in the room? Does he share the details of where he was that night? Because I think you asked him twice.
I did.
What happened that night? Did he share the details?
He didn't. I literally did not. I literally did not know. Had they not told me the following day when we were all sitting at that table, had they not told me that he was supposed to go back to Alicia's room, I would have never known. But that's the thing, though. Like, be honest. Be like, I had a date with Alicia. She asked me to come back to her room. I'm not going. And honestly, even if you didn't want to express that to me, cool. But even when I was asking him questions, he was still avoiding them. Like, eventually, like we're on a resort. It's not like we're back at home and we'll all go back to our own separate homes. Like, I'm gonna run into Alicia at some point in time. Like, it could come out. So being in that type of environment, he should have just told me so I wouldn't find out from somebody else. But nope, he never told me. It went until the next day, and they were like, he was supposed to go back to her room, and I was really shocked. I was like, okay, that's interesting.
So what was running through your head at that point? Because, like I said, I'm trying to understand. I'm a person that gives everybody a chance when they come on this platform. I want them to tell their side of the story, and then obviously we can only see what we see on the screen in terms of what they edit. What's going through your head? Because obviously now you got to the next day, you're getting told a story by Alicia or whoever's come up to you to tell you the story. Sure. And you've obviously asked them the night before, where were you? What, not even in a bad way, just like, oh, what happened to you this night? Whatever. And he's blatantly not told the whole truth.
Yeah.
And omitted information. What's going through your head at that point then?
So honestly, the very first thing I thought when I heard he was supposed to go back to her room, I was like, oh, he's really feeling her. That's what I was thinking in my head, because I personally wouldn't have agreed to go back to someone's room unless I was feeling them. That's just me personally. Okay. And I don't know. I'm a woman, men, we're all different, but in my mind, I was like, oh. So when I looked and I was thinking, I was like, oh, so he was really feeling her if he agreed to go back to her room. That's what I'm thinking. So in that moment, I was actually like confused. I was like, okay, so he came to my room to tell me good night, but he told her he was going back. So what happened in between that point? So I didn't really know. I didn't know if he got pulled for an interview or what happened in between that point. He fell asleep. Maybe I didn't know if he could have gone back to his room, showered, and fell asleep and was supposed to, for all I know, he was supposed to go back. So I really didn't know what to think in that moment. Because I was like, what if he really was supposed to go back, but he just, for whatever reason, couldn't get there? So in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, so if that is the case, then I need to know, like, if he's really feeling her on that type of level. Because again, I wouldn't have agreed to do something like that if I wasn't feeling someone. And in his not in his defense, his argument was, well, I didn't want to hurt her feelings. But again, we're grown. Like at this point, like if you're not feeling someone, feelings may get hurt. There's a nice way to say something, but it still needs to be said. So that's honestly what was going through my mind the whole time. I was like, wow, so he really is feeling her. Like I need to figure this out. I need to figure out where they stand so I can know how we stand. And then afterwards, he told me like, no, I was never going back. I stopped at your room to make a statement. And I'm like, okay, well, you still could have told the girl, like you had the girl waiting. So yeah, that's what I was thinking in my mind.
So a lot of things obviously adding up that, okay. Yeah. A lot of things are adding up kind of, okay. Yeah, okay. So obviously, you had a connection also with Rasheed.
I did.
You started connecting. I wish you'd connected earlier. You know what I'm saying? This question, do you regret, I don't know how to say this, because obviously you almost got covered by Brian. So do you regret not being a bit more open earlier or, towards the process?
So I feel like personally that I actually was open to the process, but the guys had a bro code going, and a lot of them said like, hey, I wanted to get to know you. I wanted to talk to you, but I want to step on Brian's toes. I must have heard that, no BS, probably from like 4 or 5 of the guys. So, and it's not saying that, oh, I would have made a connection and I would have took all the men. Like, not like that. It's just one of those things where like they were making it known, like, hey, I wish we could, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Brian's made it known that, you're his. And I would respond and would rebuttal and be like, I'm not anyone's. We're here for a process. So I was always open. And Rasheed and I we talked so much throughout our time there. Like, y'all only saw 1 date or 2 dates, but we had so many conversations. He was actually the first person I told about my grandmother being in hospice. He was the very first person I told. And he was the first man that actually like listened to me when I did talk about my domestic violence and gave me amazing advice. And he said, don't blame yourself. That was the first thing he said. He was like, you never blamed yourself, did you? He's like, I know a lot of people do in those situations. So him saying that, I was just like, he's such an amazing guy. But I know without a doubt that Adriana was his number one.
Yeah.
I knew that out the gate.
Fully.
He really did.
He sold.
But, he really liked her. Or I don't know if he currently still does, but he definitely really liked her. But I knew that, but it was one of those things where like we still had our own connection. So we had a lot of talks. We had a lot of good times. But what I do wish is that maybe I could have been a little bit more aggressive and let the guys know, like, yes, Brian's my number one and I am feeling him, but I'm still open to this process and I want to get to know all of you guys, you know what I'm saying, on different levels. Because there were a lot of guys that I really didn't talk to, like, at all, just because of
like how fun?
How it went. Yeah, it was like we would talk like in group settings, obviously, because we're always together. But like one-on-one, like deep, in-depth conversations, it was a few of them I never really got a chance to. So I think I should have been more aggressive in that sense. Just kind of putting it out there like, okay, I understand y'all got bro code going on, but I'm not a bro and I don't care about the code. So I want to go ahead and just really like get to know you guys so I can figure out which one of you are really the best one for me, So that's something that I wish I would have done for sure.
I hear that. Would you say, was there anything else that happened on the show that we didn't get to see that you would like for us to know? Like, was there anything that we didn't get to see that,
Oh, what was it?
Something.
It's a lot. Honestly, it was a lot of scenes. And I granted, I understand, like, they have to cut it into like a 45-minute show. I get it. But there was one scene, it actually doesn't even pertain to me, but a lot of the women wish we would have seen. And that was when Edwin, and he does express it, I think in one of the interviews, that, he hasn't really spoken to his father. And or something along those lines. I don't really know the full story, but like all the guys had like this moment, and so where like most of them were in tears, like crying, and they had a moment, they had the Bible and they were all praying. I think Brian led it.
I think, yeah, I heard about
I
this.
don't know if you spoke about it, but I that was one thing that I really wish I could have seen. And I really wish they would have shown it, at least a piece of it, because it seemed like it was such a moment. And, you know, as a Black community, we always harp on how men should be more emotional already. The fact that they were all that vulnerable and in tears and hugging and praying for one another, like that was an amazing moment. I wish I would have gotten to see. And I know I wasn't in it, but that was probably one thing that I really wish I could have seen. But as it pertains to me, I would probably say I wish they would have shown more of my dates. There were a few dates. Like I said, I had a date with Jay. I've had dates with Rasheed. Even Brian and I, like the date that we had, I don't feel like they showed a lot. So I really wish they would have shown a little bit more of the dates that I had, but they didn't. And I get it. Like there's only a certain amount of footage that they can show.
You spoke quite candidly. I think this is probably the last section of our interview. You spoke quite candidly about your abuse that you had gone through in a relationship, but there was a part that was interesting. I reviewed it just recently, where you were speaking to Rasheed, and you mentioned about have you ever sabotaged a relationship?
Yeah.
I don't know if if that's too deep, that's fine. But I wanted to kind of get a bit more understanding of that particular situation in terms of when you were mentioning, because I was like, hold on a minute, did she just say that the man was trying to do everything he could and she was like, it's not enough? Like, what? I was like, so I guess I want to get your viewpoint. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. I would love to go into more depth about that, actually. So it was actually with my last relationship, my ex-fiance. We were engaged, and he also was going through a few things himself. So he really wasn't able to give his all to me. So I feel like I was picking up a lot of the slack for where he couldn't give. But one thing about myself is that I am a perfectionist. I am.
Okay.
And that's just how I've always been that way. So when you have a perfectionist mindset, a lot of the times you feel like stuff isn't good enough because it's not perfect. And one thing that I learned after my relationship is that everything is not going to be perfect. And that's all around relationship life in general. And when you don't appreciate what you have, you're always going to be searching for something better. So in that moment in the relationship, I just felt like I could have been a little bit more understanding of what he was giving. Yeah. And maybe not every time he did something, it was like, oh, well, that was good or whatever, but it could have been like this, or that was good, but you could have done it like this. Now, granted, he did his stuff too. He did his dirt. He did what he did. But as far as me looking at myself and what I could have done better in that relationship, that is one for sure I feel like I could have done. I don't feel like me doing that solely sabotaged the relationship. I feel like his cheating did, amongst other things. And my ex-fiance is not the one that abused me. It's two completely different relationships.
Okay, cool.
I want to put that out there. So he wasn't the one who abused me, but I just feel like there were other things that he did. Yeah, that obviously I feel like was the tumbling point of our relationship. But as far as me, what I could have done, I could have been a little bit more understanding in that and not necessarily harping on what he could have done better and more accepting what he was trying to do. Because in a sense, like I said, going through a few things, so he was giving me all that he could have been giving me. And but sometimes I feel like people I saw a video once, I think it was Oprah and Steve Harvey. And one thing one of them said was that some people love in gallon sizes and some people love in pint sizes. I may be saying it wrong, but this is basically the gist of it. And they were saying, so if you find someone who loves you with a pint size, once that pint is full, they have nothing left to give, but they gave you your all. So you have to find someone who can love you equally. So if you give a gallon of love, you have to find someone who also can give that gallon, because otherwise you'll feel like they will never give enough. So that really resonated with me, because I'm like, man, like I get it. Like you have to find someone who's on your same level in that sense. And I don't feel like him and I were at the time. It just didn't work. I feel like I was given a gallon, but he could only give so much at the time, and it wasn't enough for me. So yeah, like I said, I don't feel like I solely sabotaged it, but I definitely had a hand in it, and but I learned a lot from that. And so that's why with the whole Brian situation, I was like, okay, is it me? Am I not really seeing what he's saying? Is he really maybe giving me everything that he has, or, or is there certain things that he could work on and give more? But like I said, as I realized, I was like, once it all boiled down to it, I was like, we're just not on the same wavelength. So yeah.
Okay. Oh man, that's deep, and it makes more sense why, as when you answered the question, you said yes or no, because I was trying to figure out why you didn't just say yes or didn't just say no, but you said yes or no, so you was accounting for the fact there were other things involved. Okay, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's
how.
Oh,
how does your I was gonna say, how does your perfection? Whoa.
Perfection. I know.
You know what I mean, girl. How does that affect? How does that show up in relationships, though? So, like, when you're in relationships, how does that show up in relationships?
So in past relationships, because I haven't been in one since I realized that my perfectionism was an issue. But for me, what it was is that, so if maybe he worked on something, I would always, because when you're a perfectionist, you find the flaws in everything. So because it's not perfect. So even though he would work on something and he probably did an amazing job at working on it, I still found the flaw in it. I still found the negative in it. And sometimes when you're a perfectionist, you focus on what isn't instead of what is. So I had to learn that sometimes I just got to focus on what is. If this is what he gave me, compliment him on that and then just let it go. Like, I appreciate you for trying. I'm not about to sit here and nitpick at everything that you didn't do. I'm going to appreciate what it is that you did do. So again, but that's something I learned after the fact. Like I said, I've worked and I've grown so much over the past 4 years that's something that I realized, like, just don't always focus on what isn't there. Sometimes it's okay to just focus on what is there, what is in front of you, and appreciate that. Because if a person doesn't feel appreciated in a relationship, they'll feel like, well, what's the point in trying? Which I 100% agree. Like, what is the point of trying? If I'm not appreciated in everything I do, you have an issue, or you find the flaws in everything, why would I try? It's no point. So I had to realize that as an individual and focus on what is. So yeah.
I guess my final kind of questions. Obviously, because you spoke about the abuse that you had gone through, what was the healing process for you, or what's the healing journey that you've undertaken to bring Alex back to, like you said, that place of being that best you?
So it's crazy. So my ex passing and my mom's accident happened like almost at the same time. Sorry, Pat. So sorry, I didn't say that part. So he ended up passing away. The abusive, so he ended up passing away. So him passing and my mom's accident literally happened like within months of each other. So in that moment, it was hard for me because it was like, man, like I didn't know which plane to focus on. So I think and then at the time I was putting myself through school. I had to take a semester off of college. My senior year, I had to take a semester off because my parents couldn't afford to pay for the previous semester. So I took a semester off. I was working like 3 jobs, and so I was just doing all that. So my focus was like split. It was everywhere. Like I didn't know where my pain should go. Like what should I focus on healing? So I think in a sense, for a while, I didn't focus on any of it. I just got myself through school, graduated. And then after a while, I started focusing on healing. And with healing comes accepting. So I had to accept where my mom was. And then I also had to accept that relationship because it was like I almost had like a double feeling towards it. It was like, man, like I went through this with him, but he's also gone. So it's like, how do I really, how do I really, what is it that I should focus on as far as like myself and healing? So it was a tough time, but I really, like I said, I got close to God and I honed in on that and just took a lot of me time. Like I was single for a really long time after that. And I just focused on me and just focused on the word and just understanding what it was that I went through, as well as understanding how to get over it. So if you immerse yourself into the word, you can get through anything. And a lot of people, I've read comments that said, oh, she should have gotten therapy, whatever. And I feel like therapy is a good thing. I do not knock people, who go through therapy, and I would completely be open to it. But in the same token, I feel like if you do the work and you, like I said, immerse yourself into the word and lean on God, He will get you through anything. So at the time, also, mind you, this was a long time ago. So at the time when he did pass away, I was younger. I was young. Now these days with social media, everybody harps on like, therapy and Black people should do therapy, et cetera, et cetera. But back then that wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
So I'm good now where I'm at. I'm 100% good. And I just feel like I say, I'm not against therapy, but I just feel like I have done the work to get to where I am. Like I said, I'm the best version of myself. I am the happiest I've ever been. And I feel like when you know yourself and you know like what it is you want in this life and who you are and what you can accomplish, like to me, that is the biggest contentment. Like you're content with yourself. And that's just where I'm at right now. So yeah.
I want to just say as well, like, I think just kind of listening to you, you've been at the most, I think out of all the people we've interviewed, you've been quite candid and thorough.
Yeah.
And just really explaining your position and obviously you think about things, so you are a deep thinker, so obviously your thought process works and you're giving us that. So I really want to appreciate the fact that you're giving us that side of yourself. Because it's not an easy thing to go through, what you've experienced, but you're showing us the other side and you're showing us coming out of that. So I really do appreciate it. There is a question these guys want me to answer, you guys. They want me to ask, what is your star sign?
What is I'm a Libra gang.
Guys, I saw a lot of comments. Some of you were saying Virgo, the Virgo. You are wrong. She's a Libra. There you go. Y'all were asking for it. She's a Libra. Okay, I don't even know what month that even is. What month is that?
October 14th.
October.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, how did you celebrate your? Well, it was a COVID, wasn't it?
So. It was COVID, but actually, my friends surprised me, and they did a party for me. So it was actually had a good time. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, for you, one last thing. What would you like the audience to know that we don't know about Alex? Tell us one thing you want the audience to know about Alex that we don't know.
What is the one thing? Oh God, that's a good question. Gosh, I don't know. What don't you know about me? I can juggle.
You can juggle.
I can't. If I had enough oranges, I would juggle for you guys. I can juggle. Let me see. I can sing a little bit, like real.
You can sing a little bit. All right, listen.
I'm not about to sing.
Wait. No, but I'm always singing. You know what I'm saying? So if you can give us a little something.
No, I can't. No, and I have to be in the mood. But I do sing. I sing in the church choir. How about that?
You can sip a little bit more, girl, and get you in the mood. You know what I'm saying? Let that spirit fill you, girl. You know what I'm saying?
No, oh my God, you're gonna be on the spot. No. When I say sing, I can just hold a note. I can't I'm no Jennifer Hudson or Whitney.
That's all right. We don't need that. We need Alex. That's what we need.
I'm barely listen. Alex can barely best listen. I can hold an okay note.
Okay, fair enough. Don't worry, we'll catch you on another day, innit, with your piano and that.
Okay, when I learn how to play the piano again, I'll bust some.
Girl, you said that was a few years away, so I don't know. Am I supposed to keep tabs or something? Like, how am I gonna?
Okay,
you know what I mean?
We'll do 6 months.
6 months. All right, let me make sure now. 6 months. Hey, that's exactly my birthday in 6 months' time, June 24th. So, do you know what? You picked a great day. The Lord is speaking through you, sister. Okay? That's my 30th birthday to the age of maturity. You understand? I expect now a birthday song. Oh, man. But thank you so much, Alex, for coming on here. And like I said, no.
Yes, absolutely.
No, you've been pleasant, man. Do you know what I mean? And everything's saying the same thing. I think it's probably one of the first times I've seen a chat sensible. So, which means your spirit is sensible.
I'm sprinkling a little bit down there too.
You've been causing it to be good, man. Today I haven't seen too much madness in there. I mean, it's just a good thing. Your vibe is good. You know what I mean?
Good. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for sharing your experience with us. We'll wait for the reunion. We don't know what's going to happen there, and hopefully, I know some things kick off. You know what I'm saying? When you guys, hopefully, if you guys film it on time. But yeah, I mean, we hopefully we'll see you then, and then we'll maybe get to have you again on the channel, And
yeah, absolutely. I would be open to that.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I would love to get you on a conversation panel and have a bit of because I like the way you talk about relationships. So we might have to just rope you in. Yeah, I'm saying.
Yes, that would be fun.
I like that.
I feel like I have a lot to give.
You do, and they like you, so we like that. You know what I'm saying? So we'll get you on there. We'll get you on there. But again, guys, thank you so much for being so pleasant in the conversation. You know what? I might go live after, guys. Have a conversation. You guys want to come on? I'm sure you guys. Is it worth an after show? I'm gonna do an after show, so you guys can come on and give your opinions. I know you want to. But I want to just appreciate again, Alex. Thank you for honorably accepting the invite and coming on the show and just giving your true, authentic self. We appreciate you so much. I would give you an offering, but my pocket's a little bit shallow right now. So, on that note, we'll give the benediction, guys. Be blessed, be easy, and stay locked and loaded. And we'll see